You are now about to board a helicopter for a flight. Whether this is your first flight or if you've flown before, there are a number of things you will need to know to enjoy the flight safely. Firstly, you should ensure that you are not suffering from any illness or serious medical conditions. A heavy meal, alcohol, certain medications, and some types of activities can affect your ability to fly as a passenger and should be avoided. Stress may also affect your enjoyment of the flight. In any of these cases, or if you are unsure of anything, do not hesitate to ask the pilot for advice. Children should be accompanied by their parents or guardians on flights, and if not, written permission may be required before they're allowed to fly. Some goods should not be taken aboard the helicopter without permission, as they may require special handling procedures. Smoking is not permitted during the flight, and all smoking materials should be extinguished before approaching the helicopter. Once the flight is started, it can get very hot inside the aircraft. In order to be comfortable, avoid wearing heavy clothing, and you may need sunglasses and a hat. Flying is subject to weather conditions. Some weather conditions can prevent the flight from taking place safely. Your pilot will conduct all the flight planning before making the final decision as to whether the flight can take place safely. And if necessary, he will explain why the flight is not possible. The pilot's decision is made for your safety, so please respect his decision. If you're flying to attend an appointment, you should have an alternative plan in case the flight is cancelled. If a helicopter is to pick you up away from an airfield, ensure there is a large area kept clear around the landing site until the helicopter has landed and the rotors have stopped turning. If the helicopter is to land on your property, ensure that the landing area is clear of any loose articles that could be blown by the rotor downwash into the rotor disc. Children and pets should be monitored at all times. Only approach a helicopter when instructed to do so by the pilot. Even if you're familiar with the helicopter, it is safer if you are escorted by the pilot or qualified personnel. There are certain special procedures and precautions to be followed before boarding any helicopter. Bulky clothes and items can usually be loaded before you embark. The pilot will instruct you how to climb aboard and where to put your hands and feet. The doors should be operated carefully and do not require slamming closed like a car door. Any objects that you wish to take into the cabin should be secured in case of turbulence and must be kept clear of all flying controls. You will be briefed on the brace position to be adopted in case of an emergency for the particular type of seatbelt that you have. The pilot will show you the location and explain the use of the safety equipment such as the fire extinguisher, the first aid pack, the emergency beacon and the life jackets. Do not inflate the life jacket until you have vacated the helicopter. Fresh air vents let you adjust the airflow at your convenience. Do not throw anything out of the aircraft, even on the ground. The headsets will allow you to communicate with the other passengers and the pilot. You may also hear the pilot talking with air traffic control, and you should not interrupt the pilot when he is receiving instructions. Please do not distract the pilot when he's flying, and children should be monitored at all times. However, do not hesitate to point out any other aircraft or anything which you believe the pilot may not be aware of. In case of any discomfort, or if you feel ill, please advise the pilot as soon as possible. If necessary, sick bags are available. Mobile phones can interfere with the communication and navigation systems. Please check with the pilot if they may be switched on during the flight. You may take photographs during the flight. However, you should check with the pilot before using a flash. If boarding operations are carried out with the rotors turning, these operations are subject to strict procedures which should be followed at all times and are normally only conducted with ground assistance. Special attention should be paid to clothing and loose objects. Always stay in sight of the pilot and ground crew and be aware there are 2 rotor systems on a helicopter. Special attention should be paid to the main rotor blades, especially if you're tall or if the helicopter is on a slope. Be aware of the danger from the tail rotor, which is difficult to see, and you should keep clear of the rear of the aircraft at all times. One last thing, there's no toilet on board. You're ready to board? Have a pleasant flight!